welcome back to the Rise and Align podcast, where we talk about all things high vibrational. We're your hosts. My name is Demi.
And I'm Halie, and today we are talking about comfort zones. And I think that this is so important because I think that if you are wanting to manifest something or if you're feeling stuck, the number one thing, in my opinion, that you need to do is get out of your comfort zone. Do things that are different to change up your routine, change up what you're doing so that you make space for new things. When you step out of your comfort zone, that's inviting new energy in. And I just think that I've said it so many times, but if nothing ever changes around you, neither is your life. Like if you don't change anything, nothing about your life is going to change. So going out and doing new things, trying new things, eating new foods, like even something as simple as like changing up what you're eating. Like I feel like I can get in this routine of like eating the same few things every week, and you're just like, that gets boring, that gets mundane. Like switch it up, change it up, do something different. And when you do that, you're inviting in new energy, and you're also allowing yourself to like grow and expand.
Absolutely. I always think about like the quotes you see that say, if you want your life to change, you have to do something different. If you're doing the same thing all the time, nothing's ever going to change. And for me, when I think about like stepping outside of my comfort zone, a lot of times it takes me doing something that I've never done before, like say in terms of work, like starting this podcast, for example. Definitely so many people are afraid to put themselves out there, to be on camera, to be in any type of public eye. They're worried about being judged, and doing that can actually really build your confidence. Like just taking that step forward. You don't have to be perfect. A lot of people will worry about like posting. A lot of people are working online these days and they want it to be perfect. Like we want every post to be perfect. And so it stops them from even starting. And I just want to say, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to take that first step. And once you do, it really starts to mold your mind differently. You start to think differently because you are having different experiences, and you start to attract different people. I also think about like social situations. A lot of times we're stuck in our routine and we don't go to new places. We don't meet new people. Like we're not doing something wildly different than we're used to because it doesn't even feel comfortable for us. And we do talk about at times, if something doesn't feel aligned, then say no. Like you have to hold healthy boundaries. But that said, I think it is good to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. So, I'll be invited to places once in a while that I'm like, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't go there on my own. I wouldn't go there on a regular basis. But it also kind of sparks this excitement in me because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to a new place. I'm probably going to meet new people. I might experience something new. Like I might taste a new food or try a new drink. And I just love that expanding perspective of the world. Like there are infinite possibilities, and you're not going to experience that if you don't step out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. I feel like if you are in a situation where you're asked to do something and it feels yucky, bad, no, don't do it. But if you're doing it because you're afraid or you're scared, that's exactly why you should do it. That is the universe like offering you an opportunity to step out of your comfort zone. And as someone who's had social anxiety and stuff, I've trained myself that this anxious feeling or this almost like excited feeling is a bad thing. I think of anxiety as a bad feeling. It's yucky, but I over time have trained myself that feeling that comes up, it's actually more of an excitement thing, and you can use it as like a trigger to be like, oh, I'm more so excited. And like you can get like a little bit nervous when you're doing something new, but it doesn't have to have this negative connotation to it. And I feel like I have gotten in that rut very heavily of like, I don't want to go because I'm anxious, because I'm nervous or a little scared. But that doesn't have to be such a bad thing. You can't just hide away in your ball of anxiety. I think just kind of retraining what that feeling really is. It's more so could be just nervous excitement. And that's so cool because when you start playing off of it being more of like an excitement thing, you show up a little bit more truly excited and happy, and you allow things to like unfold how they're meant to instead of worrying about how they're going to unfold, which can change how you perceive the experience. So that's just been something that's been helpful for me, is like, am I anxious or am I just like a little nervous and excited? Just saying.
I have seen so many people talk about that concept lately of fear is actually excitement. And when you train yourself to think of it that way, it will change the outcome of situations. The other thing I thought about while you're talking about this is Bob Proctor used to say that you need to make a C-type goal. So an A-type goal is something that you've already done. A B-type goal might be something that's new to you, but something that you know is possible, like getting a new car. Anyone can get a new car, but maybe anyone can't do something much bigger than that. I don't know what it might be. Like maybe you want to start a new business or invent something or something like that, right? It may to the mind seem impossible, and your C-type goal should scare you. And if you're not setting those C-type goals, then you're not going to expand. And I also love to think about, like, in order to expand, I believe that we have to have contrast. I really think that the contrast is what expands us. So when we are encountered with a concept or an experience or something like that that makes us feel uncomfortable, it might scare us a little bit. Breaking through that terror barrier is what's going to cause our expansion. It's what's going to grow us and make us into deeper and more interesting people, and it gives you so many more possibilities, because you might be like stuck in a kind of cycle where you work maybe a 9 to 5, or you do the same thing every day of the week. And they do say that 90% of our behavior is habitual, and so it's easy to get caught in that. But if you are doing the same thing, new opportunities are not going to present themselves to you. You're not aligned with that. So in order to get new opportunities and meet new people and have new experiences, you have to do that different thing. You have to get out of that comfort zone and break that cycle.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. We talk about, and you hear so many people talk about the law of attraction, but there's also the law of action. You have to take those actionable steps towards your goals and your dreams in order to make them happen. And because when you're putting yourself in new situations, you're making space for that person that you need to kind of bring everything together. You're making space for the right experience to fall into place. If you aren't going out to a new place or doing new things, you will not make the new connections that you need to fulfill your next thing or whatever it may be. You will not put yourself in a position where you're seeing synchronicities. You're going to continue to perpetuate the same life that you continually have by not getting out of your comfort zone. And I love that you talked about it being an opportunity for expansion because you go through contrast. You don't go out of your comfort zone and have everything necessarily work out for you. There are going to be things that may not work out along the way, but it's because it's new to you. You have never done it before. You're learning, and it's kind of like life training you how to do whatever it is. Like, and I think that the contrast is part of the fun of it, because you get to see the progress on the end of it. You get to say, I went through this and came out on the other side. And yeah, I think it's just an amazing, it's the school of life. Like, if you're not taking the classes or courses, like, you're not going to get, the knowledge that you want or need. Life is a school.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's really interesting too, because you think about it, like, fear and anxiety is typically coming from control. Like, you want to be able to control the outcome. So a lot of time, like, people won't do something out of their comfort zone because they think it's safe. They think it's safe here in their little box. Mm-hmm. But I think, to me, it's unsafe, because we're meant to be expanding. And if you are feeling that kind of stuck feeling like nothing's ever changing, you're hanging out with the same people, you have the same job, you're going to the same restaurant or eating the same food, like everything's kind of the same, that's a sign that you got to do something different and do something that scares you. Do it because it will change. It will really, really change your life. And you never know, like I was listening to Call Her Daddy, the podcast, and she talked about how when she first started the podcast, she'll do these like different voices, right? She's kind of silly, but she's just being authentically herself. And she was like a little bit nervous to be like putting that out there. And a lot of the feedback was negative. They were like, you are so annoying. Like, what are you doing? But when you do that and you just embrace your weirdness or your authenticity, whatever it might be, it gives you that chance to attract those people who are truly aligned with you. And it gives you that opportunity to create something massive like she has. I think that's the #1 podcast in the world, you know? And it's just this girl kind of following her dreams and being herself. And I love that. But, you know, she had to break through that terror barrier. I'm sure she didn't think like, yeah, she talks about her childhood too. And she talks about how she got made fun of a lot and she wasn't really popular, you know? And I'm sure she didn't think like, I'm super comfortable starting a podcast. You know, I'm sure it took some guts and some bravery to break through that fear and just do it. And this is your sign. If you're listening, just do it, because there is nothing more rewarding than breaking through a fear. Like I think about so many different circumstances where even something as little as swimming. Okay, I was the worst swimmer in high school. I was the last one in the pool. I'm short and I've got these bobbers in the way and like it just isn't good for me. I'm not a good swimmer. I can't do it, but I can though. And so I carried that kind of into adulthood, and I was in Egypt and we were in the Red Sea. We were going to go snorkeling, and even though I really wanted to do it and I signed up to do it, I was like so scared. I was like, oh my God, we're in the middle of the ocean in this foreign country, and like I'm terrified, to be honest. Like I don't want to drown. I don't know. So we stopped 3 different times. The first time we stopped, I was like, I'm going to wear a life jacket. Like, I can't do this. And so I went in, I was wearing a life jacket. The waves were kind of big. And I was like, okay, well, this is okay. And so the second stop, I was like, I'm going to try it without a life jacket. So I go in the water and I'm like, oh my God. And there's this tour guide who is like holding on to me and like inappropriately. And I'm like, okay, I can't. I told him I was scared. Okay. But now at this point, I'm like, you need to leave me alone now, sir. And so I ended up going on my own without my life jacket. But that way I was able to see so much more. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so thankful that I decided to do this and break through that fear, because what I saw was inexplicably beautiful. Like it was like you see on the Discovery Channel, like, you know, every color under the rainbow and like just unreal beauty that lied under the ocean in the Red Sea. And so I was like, to this day, that's one of the coolest things I ever did. But I had to break through that fear, and I was scared. I was trembling. I know it sounds silly. A lot of people love swimming, you know, and it's not that scary. But in the middle of the ocean for me, that was a massive fear. I don't know if I drowned in a past life, but I was like, but once I broke it, I was like, yes. I was so happy. Like
That's
so thrilled.
Exciting. That's so happy, and such a good like metaphor for any experience. And it does kind of make me a little bit sad, just thinking about like younger me, of like being so worried about what everyone else thought, that it dictated what I did and how I lived my life. And I did miss out on a lot of experiences because I was too worried about what other people thought. And honestly, like, just go listen to our main character episode, because we are the main characters. Like, you are the main character in your story, and like you get to dictate this life, and it can be as wonderful or as bad as you want it to be. Like if you want to perpetuate your negative beliefs and this reality that you're currently living, then do that. But you can also have like everything you've ever dreamed of. Like, you get to decide. And I think that has been a major stepping stone of like getting myself to step out of my comfort zone, because it's like, I'm not here to live for other people. Like, I'm here to live for myself and do what aligns with me, even if that is scary. I will say it can be a little bit more difficult to do things that are scary if you haven't regulated your nervous system, because you're in a state where your body literally thinks that it is fighting to survive. So if you are someone that is super anxious and stressed, or just has a hard time getting basic needs met, like, you need to work on like grounding and allowing yourself to feel safe in your body and in this world, and work on your self-worth, because when you do that, you feel more confident in taking these risks or doing things that get you out of your comfort zone. So just know that it is possible, no matter where you come from, what you've gone through, where you're at right now. Like, you can even start small. Just switch up your routine of like where you're getting coffee or something, or like, if you are someone who wants to do X, Y, and Z on the weekend, but you don't have someone to go with, just do it anyways, and you'll meet people there that do that too, and next time you can go with them. Like, things will fall into place when you're following your heart and doing what you really want to do, even if it's scary.
Absolutely. You really don't have to worry about the how. You don't have to worry about the details, but just take the steps toward that, and things really do work out. And I mean, I so agree with the regulating your nervous system and really getting to just a point where you're comfortable in yourself, because it does allow you the confidence to really step out of your comfort zone without the worry and fear about like, well, what might happen? What might other people think? And it's interesting because so many of those fears that hold us back from leaving our comfort zone are just subconsciously programmed, and we talk a ton about that in almost every episode. We also talk about how to stay aligned in episode 1 and in our last episode. And we have an episode on yoga, which has helped us both immensely to kind of get to that point where we do feel so comfortable in ourselves. Like, there's not much I'm scared to do these days, but it's kind of exciting when I find something I'm afraid of, because I'm like, ooh, that's what I'm going to do next.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. But so many of these fears come from what we were taught, and sometimes stepping out of our comfort zone can even be money related. It can be, I'm afraid to buy a flight because what if I can't afford it, or I'm afraid to take off work because what if I can't afford it. And I know that the general I want to say like script that society is told is that most of us are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, hear me out. That might be true, but you can change it, because your thoughts cause your emotions, which you act out of, which then create your reality or your results. So if your results are that you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can change your thoughts about that, and you can be open to new possibilities. You can be open to receiving, and say that you are like burnt out because you're working too much, which most Americans are, and you decide that you are worth taking some time off and maybe even taking a vacation. We talk about travel, in our travel episode, and how that can raise your vibration. But when you do something like that is stepping out of your comfort zone, it is going to present you with new possibilities, and you might come up with new ideas as to how to make money. You might run into somebody who might hire you for a new job. Like, you just never know. And I can say from experience that I have met really, really wonderful people and amazing connections on flights and in random places all over the world. And it takes believing in yourself and being open to those opportunities presenting themselves to you in order to attract that. But I think it's so worth it, because I've never not been rewarded by stepping out of my comfort zone.
So good. I have a few things. So one being, there's like videos on TikTok that go around that people ask like, what do you do for a living and how much do you make? Or, it'll be like themed around one career and how much they make and whatever. And there's one like trend going around of like, how old are you and how much do you have in your savings or something like that. And there's this one girl, she was like 28, and she's like, I have like $100 in my savings. And there was like more questions, but she was just like, I'm here now. I just want to like, I have the money now. I'm going to use it now. And like future me will always have, like, it was just a super good, like, it wasn't like a spiritual explanation. Like she wasn't like super deep about it, but she's just like, I'm just going to spend the money that I make now and like do what I want with it and be happy now. And future me will do the same. Like, I'm not going to worry about the future or planning like heavily for the future with my retirement or whatever. She's just like, it's all good here. I'm just going to spend my money. It's all good. And that, I mean, I've kind of taken that approach too. And I'm not going to tell everyone to do that, like spend all your money and whatever. But having that like unwavering faith that it always comes back to you and the money will always come. The money's always there. You don't have to worry about it. Like that in itself can be really life-changing. But we did have feedback on our travel episode. Someone says that it was a very privileged of us to say these things and to have these beliefs. And, you know, honest to God, like, I'll speak for myself. I've come from nothing, like pretty much the lowest level of like poverty to an extent, but like I've come from absolutely nothing, and I have had to overcome so many limiting beliefs to get where I am today. Like it came from a lot of hard work and self-reflection and allowing yourself to let go of these beliefs. And I just think it's so interesting that so many people who are scared to change or who are scared to get out of their comfort zone and make these big changes for themselves are in this state of like, validate my sadness, validate my lack, like the lack, but this people are struggling with their basic needs, like, okay, but I've been there too, and you can change it. Like, you can make decisions that allow you to change that. And if you are one of those people who are stuck in that, but this happened to me, or I'm in this current situation, like, if you're going to continue to repeat that as your reality, like, you're going to continue to repeat that. If you don't do anything to change that, it's never going to change. So it's just so interesting to have someone's perspective to be like, oh, that's privileged. But and said something about like knowledge is privilege, but she was trying to use it in her point. But I'm like, knowledge is a privilege, because if you tune in and listen to your own inner knowledge, that allows you to create magic in your life. I mean,
absolutely. I laugh because I have experienced that a lot throughout my life. I had somebody one time comment, I think it was maybe on like a TikTok video or a YouTube video or something, and they said something about like, oh, you must have daddy's money. If you know me, I actually just met my father last year. I am 32. Definitely didn't have daddy's money. My mom was on welfare most of my life. Sorry, Mom, for outing us like that, but we were poor. I never went anywhere. I went on a plane one time before I was 18. We went on like a family trip with my mom's boyfriend, and we stayed with family. We didn't stay in a hotel or anything like that. That was the only time I ever went anywhere in my entire life. We never once took a vacation outside of that. Nobody gave me anything. Yes. I literally have been working since I was young enough to like walk and talk. And you might think I'm exaggerating, but let me explain. No. So here's the other thing. So my mom owned a restaurant, right? People think, oh, you must have been rich. No. If you've owned a restaurant, if you've owned a small business, you know that does not mean that you're rich. In fact, it might mean that you're extra poor. But when I was really little, I would help waitress and bus tables and do whatever I could to make tip money. When I got older, I think I was like 12 when you're like legally allowed to work for your parents. So I started actually working hours. And when I was 14, I got a job like at Burger King. And when I was 15 to 17, I had 2 or 3 jobs at a time because I did grow up with the belief that there was lack, that there was always lack, that we never had enough, that next Christmas would be better. And it never was. So I think it's hilarious. Some people are like, you're privileged. And I'm like, no.
Quite the opposite,
No.
actually.
But I have been reprogramming my mind for quite some time now, and it has changed my life. And so if you are one of those people who is saying like, I don't believe that, I challenge you to try it out. Try it out, because changing your thoughts isn't going to hurt you. It's not going to take anything from you. And it might sound funny and it might take a while for you to get there, but what if you believed that there was infinite abundance here for you? What if you did? What if you were open to that possibility? And what if you started looking for evidence of it within your reality and you thought, you know, the sky is different every single moment of every single day. There is evidence of infinite abundance. I mean, people are born and die every single day. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So doesn't that mean scientifically that there is infinite abundance here for you? And I think that the more understanding you are of these concepts, like my mentor Bob Proctor used to say, the more you study, the more you are confident in, you know, aligning with those concepts and that feeling, instead of having that blind faith. It gives you so much confidence to act out of those beliefs. You know in your heart and your soul that these things are true, and that it's not blind faith, but it is reality. It is actually, it comes down to science, you know, and I love science. I love physics and mathematics because it is proof for us. To me, like, that is solidarity, that is logic, that I do believe that over anything else, you know, and so when you really understand that there is infinite abundance here for you. And also, I think that humans, our biggest fear is death, right? We think it's going to end. And that is partially a lack belief. But if energy can't be created or destroyed, you will never cease to be. And so when you can eliminate that fear, what are you scared of? You know, like, you're scared of suffering. Well, either you're going to live and expand or you're going to die. Well, and then what happens if you die? Or what, you go back into alignment? Oh, I'm so scared. You know? And so it's like, okay, well, when you study that concept and when you really understand, like, there is nothing to fear but fear itself. And if you do believe in the law of attraction, you don't have to fear lack, because if you are aligned with abundance, you're only ever going to attract that. So, you know, the more you study, the less you fear, and the easier it is to do whatever the HE double hockey sticks you want.
Literally, we're giving you the secret codes. It's insane. You don't even, like, just do what we're saying and you'll have magic.
You can think
life.
We're crazy and delusional all you want, but give it a shot. Let me know how it goes.
One simple thing to play off of that is just the concept of death. Like, for me, a major shift for me, and this isn't like super profound, but it's like about going back to this idea of worrying about what people think of me. And, like, you know, sometimes I would fixate, like, oh, I said this on accident, how embarrassing. Who cares? Because everyone here is going to die. You're going to die. No one in 100 years, like, no one will ever know about this. Like, it will be erased forever. It's okay. Like, it's not like, it's not so serious, you know, nothing is so serious. The person that you're worried about thinking whatever, they'll die someday and forget about it. It's okay.
Facts. I mean, it is funny too, because in the scheme of things, like, nothing really matters that much. There's only the here now, and if it's not happening here now, it probably doesn't matter. Exactly. Like at the end of it. But it's funny too, because, you know, part of that fear of stepping out of our comfort zones, it often comes from worrying about other people. But if you understand that you are the center of your universe and that how you feel is what's attracting your reality, you have to take those other people off the pedestal because they're not attracting your reality for you. Only you are. Mm-hmm. How they feel doesn't affect your life. How you feel is what affects your life. And I think the more that we focus on other people, it's like we're giving away our own power. You know, it's just operating out of lack rather than abundance. So when you put yourself back on that pedestal, again, listen to our main character episode, you will understand that everyone outside of you, it may sound kind of mean, but they're irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Like how their thoughts and their emotions don't really matter. I think there's a balance to that because I do truly believe that we are all connected, that we are all one. And I definitely want to give out what I want to get back. And I want to love everyone unconditionally as much as I am capable of doing so, you know, mm-hmm. But also you can't prove that anybody else is conscious in the same way that you are. And you can prove that no one else's emotions are affecting your life. Like, if you're sad, it's not, I mean, I do care about you, so this is a bad example, but if you're sad, it's not changing what I'm attracting or how I'm acting. You know, like, we're acting out of our own emotions, not somebody else's. So if they are judging you or whatever, if they're even really thinking about you, honestly, and if they're healthy, they're probably not focused on you. They're probably focused on themselves. They probably don't even notice or care what you're doing. Most people don't think about you that much. I'm sorry. But you can think about you, you know, and you can think like, instead of thinking about, I wonder what they're thinking or I wonder how they feel, how do I feel? What do I think, you know? And we've talked about too, like going into social situations and instead of being like, do they like me? Do I like them? Mm-hmm. Are they nice people? Do I want to be around them? You know, it's important because how you feel is what you're acting out of. It's what you're attracting and nobody else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's about it, folks. That's the secret to life.
That's it. Yeah. So step out of your comfort zone and screw what anyone else thinks, honestly, because we don't even know if they're real people. It's all a hologram in the end of it.
So true. It's so true. Like, just be delusional, truly.
Yeah. Check out our episode on why being delusional works.
We got it all. We got everything for you.
On that note, let's pull a card and see what Source has to say. I was thinking about during this episode, there is a card. It is basically, it's called the Fool, but it is like being the perfect fool. And when we were talking about that girl on TikTok who was like, I only have $100. Like, I don't know. I don't care. I'm not worried about it. She is the perfect fool. It's not that she's deeply spiritual or that she knows for sure she's going to have another $100 next week or anything like that. It's just that she's so present that she's unbothered by it. She's not thinking about lack or anything like that. She's just living in the moment. And I think that that is the most beautiful way to live.
I love that unbothered is like a thing now because that is how I am living. Like, I'm unbothered by like politics. I'm unbothered by like the drama. I'm unbothered. Like, I'm good here now in my own little world. Like,
people get so upset and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but look at the sky though. Look at the moon.
I'm out of here. You have fun. So I am pulling from the Starseed Oracle, so a little bit different than a tarot deck. And the card that I received for us is called Trust the Timing. I'll let you hold that up. And I've never pulled this one before, so I'm excited.
Ooh, okay. So it says, trust the wave you came in on. Time is not running out. I flipping love that because there is only here now, you know? And so in this picture, it shows a woman, and I think it's the same woman. They're showing her 3 times at different stages, but it basically looks like her existence is eternal. And that is really what I believe, that because energy can't be created or destroyed, we are eternally being.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. So often, those who feel like they're here for a reason sense that time is running out, and they spend their life worrying that they might miss their moment. But the only way to miss your life or your moment is to spend your time worrying about missing it. It's never too late to answer a calling, and you're never too old. The tides of your life are magnificently orchestrated to come in and out in perfect unison. Don't race ahead and ride a wave that was never meant for you. You'll waste your precious time and energy, when instead you could be enjoying your life. Everything has a season, and you're being called to trust the one you're in. Don't let impatience, comparison, competition, or paranoia disturb the seeds. It seems that everyone has anxiety these days, constantly scanning for something they might have missed or a possible threat. Keeping your mind and body pointed in the same direction as our soul is near impossible at such reactive speeds. Right now, you're being reminded to take a breath, trust the wave you came in on, to trust the season you're in. Time isn't running out. There's plenty of time, there's no rush, and it's never too late. And then a question for you. How can you trust the timing of your life a little more?
I have two things to say. Abraham Hicks always says, you can't get it wrong, and you'll never get it done. The other thing that really came up for me, Russ just released, I've never gotten through an episode without talking about Russ. Here we go again. Russ just released this song called Dirt, and he says, feeling worried, that's the devil at work. On God, I'm going to put him in the dirt. And I think that's so true. Those, worry, fear, doubt, that's the devil. Like, don't let that in, because real control is control over your own mind.
Mm-hmm. I think this also touches on a little bit different of a perspective of what we're talking about, but it's still very relevant. Even if you are someone who is aligned and you are going towards your goals and you are going out of your comfort zone, you don't have to force yourself to do too much. You don't have to force yourself through something, and you don't have to rush the process. So I think that was a really good message from this too, of like, even if you are going for the things and, doing it, you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush through it. You don't have to force it. Allow it to flow and unfold how it's meant to, without the expectation and again, anxiety of, how it might turn out, or having a specific picture of how things should be.
I feel like so many people are like, it's always comparison. Like, well, I should have had this done. My best friend says, stop shitting on yourself. Because, we each have our own path. And at the end of the day, the only reason we want anything is because we think we're going to feel better having it. So instead of like worrying about other people and taking that focus off of yourself, just think about how you feel and focus on what feels best. That's the whole point.
Yeah. And also, like, not be so concerned about the outcome. Like, we're riding waves, and if you think about it, the waves never end. You never get anywhere. You're not going someplace. It's just a flow. It's a cycle. So it's like, we're not trying to get anywhere but here.
Yeah. First of all,
that's the hardest place to get to.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. It's facts. Okay. Well, on that note, thank you for being here now with us. We appreciate you so much. Your presence is so valuable to us, and we hope that this episode brought you an abundance of new perspectives.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.